Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Andrea, it's good to see you. Andrea, meet
Hello.
NeAnne Clinton. She
Hello,
is
NeAnne.
another
Hi.
badass in Oklahoma, where most of the badasses
I know.
congregate in the country.
My favorite
Not,
people. My favorite people are all in Oklahoma.
something I didn't tell you when I was telling you about her is NeAnne worked very hard on Jackson Lawmire's campaign.
Oh, great.
And she's
Very
very close with
cool.
that whole group. Matter of fact, Jackson
Awesome.
brought, what was it, Roger Stone in, and she was like, everybody that worked on his campaign was there, and we're messing around, and she's like, just put the band back together, man. It was awesome. It was fun.
I love
It
it.
was fun. But NeAnne, she is huge in the Republican Party and been helpful with. We've been talking about how in Oklahoma the grassroots are taking back the Republican Party,
Amen.
and when we say that, we don't mean that we want to get rid of everyone who's been registered Republican. I've been a registered Republican my whole life. And I don't even want to get rid of those that are considered establishment, right? Because I
Mhm.
think that they align with us. But we had to get rid of the liars and the cheaters because the thieves were the ones running the party.
Yep.
And it was awful. And what we have found out is in Oklahoma, they're actually rooting for us to fail. They're talking about let them burn it down, and they're working against us, which says a lot about who they are and
Mhm.
who they always were. Because I don't care who was in charge, I was never rooting for the Republican Party to fail. But
Yes.
we're going to do well. And so those people have to be moved aside. But there are a lot of people that have been holding the line for years, that have been waiting for all these new people to come in. And then the new people came in, and we're just asking them to be excited that the boots on the ground are here, that you've got
Mhm.
the people, and now let's work together and let's get this done because we have a country to save.
Mhm.
And we've got these values that we need to be looking at, which is our Republican platform. And that needs to
Mhm.
be our focus as we continue to take back the country. And so I believe we have to take back the Republican Party, to take back the Republic. And NeAnne has been a fantastic part of that. She
Wonderful.
is the Congressional District 3 chair. And she is also her county chair. Is it Garfield County?
No, so I'm a precinct chair in my county.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, it is Garfield County, but Doug Peathott is our chairman.
Okay. So when you're doing the chairs of the precinct chairs, those are the people that actually do the hard work because they go door to
Yep.
door and they get the people involved in their communities, which is brigades. NeAnne, I know we've been and talked about brigades. I don't remember. Did you institute the brigades in your county?
So, not officially with
Sure.
that title, but we've been doing the work of the brigades for the last 4 years.
Sure. All right. Okay. So I know you've coordinated with the rest of the brigades across the state as
Yeah.
we've even put on events together.
Hmm.
The rally at the Capitol against green energy was when they pulled out of a county as a result of that in McIntosh County as a result of that rally. And so NeAnne spearheaded that and was amazing. So she came to talk to us today. They have put solar farms in, and people, when you hear, I'm sorry, once again, it's something about getting on camera. I get an itch right here. Um, Something about the solar farms. They try to present it like they do everything in the 2030 agenda with this beautiful bow and a beautiful packaging. And they say, look, this is great. You're using the sun. We're using natural energy, and it's going to cost less money. Matter of fact, you're going to make money on it. But that is not the reality with these solar farms. And they've come in a big way in the part of Oklahoma NeAnne lives in. And she has been fighting this huge. So, NeAnne, tell us first, like, what is the biggest issue with the solar farms that the people need to know? Because it's a farce that this is a good thing.
Yes. And so, one of the biggest things, I mean, there's plenty of big things, right? One of the biggest things that Oklahomans need to realize is that when these solar complexes, and we call them solar complexes because they're an industrial complex, are coming into our state of Oklahoma, they are not looking for brown, it's called brown ground that can't be used for anything else. They are literally covering thousands and thousands of acres of prime agricultural farmland. And the last I heard, in December was the last time I got an updated number, but so it could have been, it could have changed between now and then. But in December, there were 100 solar complexes in the pipeline for approval across the state of Oklahoma. So if every one of those is, we'll say 2,000 acres, that's 200,000 acres of prime farmland that we're taking out of production.
So why aren't they putting them over, like, I've seen, memes, right? Is this even a possible thing? Would it be a good thing where they put these big solar panels, which you pointed out are industrial? So we're not talking about the little things you use to charge your phone with, right? These are
Right.
huge complexes. What about putting them over parking lots and providing shade? Would that still be something dangerous? Is it as effective?
They do increase the heat around them. So, I mean, I've seen pictures of them on parking lots and on buildings. Whatever they put them on, it's going to increase. It's
I
called
see.
a thermal island. It's still going to increase. So I don't know about parking under
So
one of them.
that's probably an insurance nightmare to put,
Yeah.
let the
Well,
public park underneath it because it'll
and the
ruin the
fire
cars.
hazard.
So we want to do it over the farmland instead. Got it. Okay, go ahead.
Well, so that's one of the big things. And so, like you pointed out, the promise of money is one of the largest drivers of these solar complexes. Well, our argument is we are using federally subsidized tax dollars to support this industry. We did not vote to use our tax dollars in this way. Obviously, when the government in DC takes our tax dollars, they don't ask us what we want to use it for. But we are using trillions of dollars of United States citizens' tax money to fund these projects. So they'll come into a county and they will promise all of this tax revenue to the county commissioners, right? Or whoever's the approval authority is. So if you take example of the one here in Garfield County, it's going to be 2,400 acres of prime farmland graded by the USDA. They promised $64 million in increased tax revenue. Well, there's an asterisk at the end of that sentence. And if you look at the asterisk, it says over the 30-year lifespan of the complex. So you're looking at $64 million divided by 30, right? Which is just a little bit over, maybe 64 million. Yeah. Just a little over $2 million per year, maybe. But it's also ad valorem tax, because the only way the state of Oklahoma taxes these complexes and the wind turbines and all of the other green energy scam is ad valorem. So the county will get that money, but a portion of it goes to the schools and a portion of it goes over here, and a small, very small portion will go to the county to use to update roads or build, bridges or whatever. Just so you know, it is extremely expensive. You can probably get maybe 1 mile of asphalt road out of $1 million. So the promise of money is one of the reasons that these are very prevalent in Oklahoma, because they come to these counties but nobody does the math, right? So you're looking at $64 million in revenue over a 30-year lifespan. Well, that's before they protest what the county assessor says that project is worth, which is exactly what they've done with the wind turbines in Oklahoma. They protest that assessment, and then it goes into court, and then they actually pay less than what the county assessor has assessed it at, because they negotiate it down and all of this stuff. So
do you think the commissioners, so this is one thing we've said with the brigades everywhere we've gone, is that your commissioners is your operations manager for your county. There is not a dollar that is spent in your county without the approval of the commissioner. And in Oklahoma, most of the county commissioner races I've seen, they're not educated people, right? They think they're just going to be doing roads. And I actually had them arguing over one county. I watched them arguing over who actually did and didn't have a high school diploma. And so, and these are the ones making the financial decisions. The public doesn't understand. These guys aren't just in charge of roads. And so maybe if we would raise awareness that this needs to be, and possibly be paying them more, because the responsibility on them is this how these companies are coming in? I mean, I'm just offering a question. Is this how these
So,
companies are coming in? Are they talking to people where they can talk over their heads very easily, and
mhm.
they're just, using money to, what do you
Well,
think?
they come in groups. I mean, they'll bring their
Right.
attorney with them, and the project manager and the engineer and all of these people. But one of the other things that our county commissioners are not questioning when they look at the tax revenue, how many dollars are they going to lose because of the agribusiness that has been lost? How much diesel will not be
Right.
sold in this county because tractors are not being filled up? How many citizens in our county are going to lose jobs because they're not going to be harvesting, these fields that are full of wheat? How much seed is not going to be sold? So we actually have a farmer that's in our group, and she did the calculations. We will probably lose a little bit more in revenue, in county revenue, because of the loss of agricultural businesses than we will gain in these ad valorem tax dollars.
So when you guys are going to your county commissioner meetings and this is coming in, do the math for them, do the work for
We
them,
have.
because you pay the price. They pay a price, but so do you. And so it's got to be
Mhm.
up to the people. But now, every time I talked to you for a while there, and maybe it was because it was warmer out as well, but there was a fire. Like every time I saw you post on any social media or anything, you were like, there's another fire. You can't go down this road. Like, tell me about the dangers. Tom joined us. Hey, Tom, thanks for coming on.
Hey,
I didn't
Tom.
even know I was coming on. I was coming in to listen, but
All
glad
right.
to be here.
All right.
That's awesome. Well, and so, yeah, I mean, so along with the solar complex that they're building in Garfield County, there's going to be a battery storage system that is going to be 30 acres of lithium batteries. So this is the fire danger that we're looking at. So we all know that lithium batteries can catch on fire at any time, thermal runaway, they age out, something's wrong with them to begin with, and they catch fire. Well, you can't put a lithium battery out with water. You can spray water on it for hours and hours and hours, but it doesn't put it out, it only contains it. So one of our arguments is that we should not be putting battery storage systems in the county where there is no water to fight a fire. There's no fire hydrants, there's no river. Our county fire departments are volunteer. They have to find a fire hydrant. There's one by the school, and then they would have to go into town. So those fire hydrants to refill those tankers to fight those fires do not exist.
So how many extra fires are you guys seeing? What is the percentage or do you know this percentage and how many more you're having since they have put the solar farms in?
Well, it's not operational yet.
Okay.
And right now, we have not had a fire in that, right around where they were. A couple of months ago when we were still in the drought situation and still had lots of dry vegetation around, we were having a lot of fires in the county, but none of them were right there. They were in different areas. But our wind, I mean, I don't know how many of you live in Western Oklahoma or experience the winds that we have.
We just heard the rumors about how bad it is because it
Right.
gets windy.
We could have, 50 to 60 mile an hour winds any day in the spring or in the fall. Sometimes, 70 to 80 mile an hour gusts. So, if the vegetation is not maintained around them and something does light on fire, it can move very quickly.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say to people facing this? I mean, when they need to go to their county commissioners when these are coming in, because we've got the globalists in Geneva that are saying, they're doing this whole lie that you need green energy.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the facts? What are some of the hard facts we can give to the brigades as they're fighting this in their communities? Because it's not just the solar, it's also the wind turbines,
mm-hmm.
and it goes on. So go ahead.
So the first thing is everybody needs to know who your commissioner is and needs to be in contact with your commissioner, because these projects are not advertised, right? I mean, we have wind turbine complexes all over Western Oklahoma. We had no idea that they were even being proposed or requested or up for any kind of vote. And in most places, there is no really vote on them because our counties are not zoned and there's no state regulation over these complexes. So
So you have to show up.
Yes. So
You have to
most
go to
of
the
these
meetings, yeah.
start happening before the people even know that they were even, an idea anyway. So know your county commissioner, be in contact with your county commissioner and ask them which corporations are coming into your county wanting to build a turbine complex, a solar complex, AI data centers, battery storage system, find out from them what's going on.
So, I know that the places where we have fought and been successful in a few communities in stopping these have been because the brigades were active and they were going to their meetings. We wouldn't have even known. They would have come in like they did in Western Oklahoma without us even knowing. You have to show up. This is instituting the brigades, like we've said, that it's not optional. We have to show up and we have to know what's happening in order to stop it.
So a couple of other things. There's one productive solar panel complex in Oklahoma right now, I believe one. I think it's 1,000 acres. That one is very close to Altus Air Force Base. The one that's being proposed near us, which it started out as a 5,000 acre, then it was reduced to a 2,400 acre, is right next to Vance Air Force Base. So the state of Oklahoma is not doing anything to protect our military installations from these companies coming in and building these complexes with foreign-made material. I don't know if you saw the Reuters article a couple of weeks ago that said they had found Chinese kill switches and Chinese, radio products inside the inverters, which are what they have to use for the solar complexes to collect the energy and then convert it, right? One of the companies that was named in the Reuters article that is very supportive of the Communist Chinese Party is the company that they are purchasing the solar panels for that are going in Garfield County. Now,
well, that would make sense if anybody follows Alex Jones and what he's been saying for 20 years about the globalist. That makes 100%.
Well, there's been an attack on the farmland in general, but I mean, we talked about on Tom's show, we talked about the windmills, and he showed a video of how they build these things, like how massive they are at the base and how deep they go down and how awful. What's wild about like with most things with the communist agenda and the lies that they tell, the green, everything that's green is awful for the environment.
The exact opposite. The environment.
Yeah. And then the attack on our farmlands. I mean, we've been talking about the chemtrails, the aluminum in the skies. We had Donkey Milk Lady on.
Yeah, Sandra.
Yeah, we had Sandra on, and she was talking about how bad these windmills have been to the health and the environment, the ecosystem, and where her ranch is.
And the solar complexes are the same. They're just in a different form.
And by the way, global warming is not a thing, guys.
Right.
It's not ever been a thing. It's not a thing. So this is not, all of this is so we can be infiltrated. I truly believe that. And what you said, what they found with the routers article where the Chinese were putting their spyware in there and they're taking away our farmland. This all goes perfectly with the 2030 agenda that you can find on the Brigade's website.
We've talked about this again on Tom's show just recently. I think it was when you were on, Charity, but we were talking about us on a global scale with trade and everything. We don't have anything anymore. The last thing we really had, I should say, because it's like past tense now, is our farms, is our food production. Like, what else do we trade? What else do we produce? What else even puts us on a global map at all? So they're coming after our food and our ranches and our lands with intent. And it's like they're hitting it from so many different angles.
And one of the reasons that we are fighting it is to preserve that for future generations. Amen. So once they put this solar complex on our prime farmland, it will be destroyed for probably a century. What they are doing is they are scraping off all of the topsoil, right? Because they have to make it level. So all of the topsoil is being removed from this prime farmland and piled up into a mountain of dirt. But they're going to put it back, when they're done in 30 years. They'll put it back. And then they compact the land underneath it so that everything's level so that they can build these. That productive farmland will never be recovered for future generations. They are taking away Oklahoma's ability to provide food for our generation and probably 5 behind us.
Well, and it's not just Oklahoma, because we produce for a lot of the country. And so they're not just hitting us, they're hitting you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, everywhere. I'm in contact with people in dozens of states that are fighting this, from, New York, Pennsylvania, all the way to Oklahoma. So we have a network of contacts so that we can share information and wins and losses and how things are happening. And so it is happening all over the place.
Well, the Green New Deal is real. It's happening.
Yep,
it's not going away. Yeah. And, they get their big, beautiful piece of crap bill that they got going on that is really not going to do anything to fix that. Congress is inept. I mean, I've never seen a more impotent Congress in my life. The only potential challenge for the impotence of this Congress would be the impotence of Joe Biden after his prostate cancer. Sorry. Did I go there?
You couldn't help it. It's okay.
You have to. I could see it. He said impotence, and I'm like, here we go. Here we go.
It's appalling. And so what we've got going on now is we're, instead of bringing truly legitimate, reasonable sources of energy like nuclear and some of these alternatives. I mean, there's a ton that's been developed in the alternative energy space.
But there's not global warming, and using our fossil fuels doesn't create that either. So the whole thing is a farce.
The whole thing is a farce from beginning to end, but it's always been a farce. I mean, remember, don't forget, if you live in New York right now, you're swimming to work because Al Gore's hockey stick happened a long time ago, and New York's supposed to be flooded. But yet, we got Obama buying oceanfront property as he's leaving office. I mean, it just, the whole thing is nothing but corruption. So
it is. And in Oklahoma, we're sitting over an ocean of, oil production.
Right.
So we could fund the entire state of Oklahoma's government and every school in our state if they would cut out all the green energy scam and just let the oil and gas people produce. Because the oil and gas people produce billions of dollars in tax revenue for the state of Oklahoma, and they provide 1 in 10 jobs for people in the state of Oklahoma.
And that's even with the pushback and the restrictions.
Even during the Biden, years.
So what would that look like if we were just allowed to do what would be common sense, right? And utilize what's there. And
you would have no debt. Oklahoma could pay for itself, 1,000 times over if we would just unleash the oil and gas.
Well, we know that the globalists don't want that. That's independence. And so it comes back to that all the time. I mean, to deny that it's there because they call it conspiracy theorist every time you use the word globalist is ignorance. It's there, and that's really what we're fighting. That's really the problem.
Well,
that's why. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say with the spraying of the skies fight that we're doing with the Maha guys, we're seeing them do that. There's legislation now, I think, in 40 states where we're talking about all the aluminum and things that are like intentionally being sprayed into our atmosphere. That's impacting our cattle. That's impacting our crops. And I would love to see, honestly, Leanne, I'd love to see us combine forces more. I hate how fractionated we get with all these different fights when what we're really talking about is it is the same fight. When we're talking about protecting the ranch, the American ranches and the ranch lands, we need to come together and be fighting it on all fronts because it's the same attack. They're coming after our farmlands in many different ways. And poisoning. I mean, even when you were talking about the way that they build these massive structures and how it destroys the land. I mean, we've also been spraying our lands with Monsanto for how many years now? And that also kills, because I'm out here in Nevada, there's some ranches that I know in California where they had to go through and literally take all the soil out, put new soil in, and then try to do the whole effort. And it takes years so that the soil can even produce anything because it's been so compromised. It's just poison now.
I agree. And we've been, fighting Monsanto for how many decades now? But people didn't believe it. And there's people in Oklahoma that still don't believe that it's bad for our environment or your health. And
it doesn't go away. That's what I'm saying. It's like you're talking about the century, long impact. the stuff that they've been spraying into the soil and on all our food. I mean, and then obviously Tom's mRNA fight in Missouri, where Bayer and Monsanto reign very powerful. That's where they're based out of. They're poisoning our food, and they don't care that we know, and they don't want us to know, and they don't want to be stopped, obviously.
Yeah, they don't care. They've been doing it in our face for so long. We've had so much proof on everything. People that choose to still not see the truth are just always going to choose that. And so I'm done trying to convince people to see it, because if you're asleep now, then you've chosen to be asleep. But we just have to fight back with the people. Look around and see who's in the fight and fight back, and let the ones that chose to stay asleep call you names. And you just keep fighting and do what you have to do, because that's the only way we're going to win, is we now have to just continue to call it out.
Well, how long do we keep letting them do this? Like with what Leanne's talking about, there's no logical reason to do it all. She just broke down that financially it doesn't do any good for the state. It's horrible for the community all around. And I just feel like we keep doubling down. Like, I feel like we're not stopping them, and they're doing it more and more and more. We're seeing windmill production everywhere.
Well, let me point out one other thing. You know, the 800-pound gorilla in the room that no one wants to hear. We have a Republican Congress, we have a Republican Senate, and we have a Republican president. And we have Donald Trump running the show right now. Now, someone tell me how, with Donald Trump running the show, GOP on both sides of the Congress, we're still pushing this crap. There's some problems going on here, and we're going to have to come to terms with the fact that we're not, every time I see on social media, all we do is win, win, win. I'm waiting for the first win. We haven't won a damn thing. We have not passed one piece of legislation. No one's gone to jail. No one's done anything of substance. The only one who's accomplished anything is Donald Trump. But the problem is everything he's accomplished can be rolled back day one of the next administration. Every single executive order, every single trade agreement that he has made can be rolled back day one of the next administration. The bad guy's strategy is not real complicated here. Do nothing, wait it out till Trump's done, and then that's that. And right now, we're coming up on a midterm. And I'm going to tell you, the GOP is fussy right now. There are a lot, especially MAHA. The MAHA MAGA coalition is the reason we have Donald Trump. MAHA is not happy right now. I know, because I deal with a lot of them. And they are not happy. If they leave the GOP or stay home and don't vote during midterms, guess what we got? We got a D on both sides of Congress. Guess what that means? Get ready for the impeachment show, because it's going to be happening every day. So someone's going to have to get their poop together here pretty soon. And I think that's going to start and end with someone having the courage to say, hey, all we're doing is not winning right now. So we need to kind of, talk about what's going wrong, because it ain't happening.
Agreed. Well, and, Oklahoma has a Republican governor and a Republican supermajority in our legislature.
Yep.
Well, we started fighting the solar complex 2 years ago, right? I started making phone calls to state agencies asking who has oversight, who has restrictions, who has regulations. Not one agency in the state of Oklahoma has oversight or regulations for the solar complexes, right? Because they were just
So they have no regulations?
No. They have no regulations.
Similar to what we found with the COVID jabs, Andrea.
Yeah,
when we were digging,
right.
There was no one regulating anything. It was
so
somebody else.
The only thing that I have found is that the state fire marshal's office does have approval over whether or not they can start producing, that they're put in correctly, and that they have to get a permit from the state fire marshal's office. That's the only regulation. So we started calling everybody. We started calling our senators, our representatives. We're asking for legislation. Well, the green energy scammers teach the landowners that they lease with and the representatives that the argument is you own your land, you should be able to do whatever you want to on your land, right? Private property ownership, which Republicans are 100% behind private property ownership.
Right.
But right now, I could write you 2 or 3 pages of things that you cannot do on your property because of some kind of regulation. But
Yeah.
you absolutely can lease with a solar complex and fill it with toxic, heavy metal solar.
That impacts the entire community. And then when you look at the windmills, they're huge. And I know that there's restrictions all over the place on building high buildings.
Right.
But they can come in and say, you can do whatever you want, and put massive windmills out there that literally impacts the ecology of the whole, how many miles area?
And the weather. And it affects the weather.
Gosh.
Yeah, it does.
So
it's okay to build a nuclear, power plant on your property because it's your property.
Well, so we started asking for some common sense regulations. Well, they were, we can't tell people what they can and can't do on their own property. I'm like, well, that's a bunch of BS, because every time you pass a bill down there on Lincoln Avenue, you're telling me what I can and can't do with my own property. But you can't do this concerning solar complexes, really? And they're coming in and destroying our counties. But now you're going to clutch your pearls and say that you can't, right? We don't want to over-regulate, and we don't want to tell people what they can and can't do. Well, this is the argument.
I know. When the communist, evil lobbyists try to use our own words.
They did this during COVID.
So this is what they teach our legislatures, right? Well, our argument is, we don't want regulations on private property owners. We want regulations on these green energy scam corporations that are coming from out of state, bringing people from out of state to work in our area, collecting our tax dollars, and nobody is making sure that they're not doing anything to harm the people that live around it. We want regulations on them, not landowners.
There's no science that backs this up. Again, we're back to the science. There's no proof. Everything you just said, the only reason they're selling it to people is money, and that doesn't even work. So the money part's a farce. And then it being good for the environment, we have the statistics now. It's been long enough. That's where I get frustrated. When I watch something like for 20 years, and we have the same thing with the COVID mRNA jabs, how many people have to get hurt by something, or how many failed windmill farms go in where they just keep doubling down and no one stops them. We know this crap doesn't work.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, during COVID, they tried this same sort of crap, right? We would say, hey, we need to prevent businesses from forcing you to wear a mask. We need to prevent businesses from, enforcing 6-foot social distance. Well, we can't regulate businesses. Now, it's interesting because they would tell me that they can't regulate a restaurant, that I said, so do you tell the cook that he's got to wash his hands after he goes to the bathroom? Do you tell them do you have a health code? Should we get rid of that too? And it's the same sort of hypocritic nonsense. It's just all BS. None of their arguments ever make sense or hold up, but they're not based on truth, and that's the problem.
Yeah. It's just an excuse. And so we actually were able to get some legislators to write bills to regulate wind and solar. And surprisingly, with the supermajority in Oklahoma, we didn't get any of those passed and on the governor's desk.
Shocking.
None of them even made it to committee, did they? Or did a couple? I know that a couple of my legislators wrote it, and they said their bills did not make it to committee. So a couple of them did.
The more stringent ones did not. We
did have bills that made it on reparations and anti-Semitic bills. And great. These kind of bills made it to committee and talking.
Since you guys are in the political class there, could it have something to do with the lobbyists and who they're paying off?
Absolutely.
It's so interesting.
The lobbyists were working, the green energy lobbyists were working overtime at the Oklahoma.
And I'm sure they were writing many, many checks.
Big checks.
And for the first time in Oklahoma, I think the first time in our history, there is a paid registered lobbyist for the state fire marshal's office.
Oh, of course there is. How convenient.
See, isn't that interesting? Now, I don't know that they were writing big checks. I do need to say that. But it sure does look like they probably were, right?
No, I mean, most of our legislators are getting campaign contributions from these companies.
Exactly.
We really feel like there are many people, and you don't know people's motives, but it has been said that in back rooms that there have been statements made that I don't know. But it's reasonable because they said that there would be certain legislators that did not get anything heard because they were mad at the grassroots, at what we are doing across the state. And so some of it was punitive from a state that has a supermajority Republican. So that needs to change. But I can tell you in Oklahoma, we have a list. We are taking names, and we will be taking people out that do not uphold Republican values. And the ones that do, we're digging our heels in, and we're supporting.
The scorecard and tracking the money. I mean, again, I was just talking to another friend who's a politician in another state, and she was talking about the lobbyist money, the corrupt lobbyist money that goes through the House and everything. And this happens everywhere. And we also talked to Debbie Georgatos in Texas too, and she talks about just how our governments are so inept. They have like 5 months out of the year off. When the good guys want to get something done, they have a short period of time to try to get anything done. And then when you're talking about the campaign contributions, I mean, I hate to admit it, but if you don't take some of that money, you don't have any money. I mean, it is hard to raise money. It's hard to be in this fight. As you know, Charity has a very high paid position, right? You make tons of money.
I'm rolling, right?
You guys don't make any money, and you have to sacrifice
it costs money
so
to
much.
do this.
And so I hate that they've basically kind of even tied some of the good people's hands. I'm trying to implore the fact that I think a lot of people start in politics with good intentions, and then this gets so muddled, and and then I've had friends in politics too, where they get the death threats. I mean, they go after your family. These lobbyists, if you don't play with them, and when you said they're working overtime, sometimes they're harassing these representatives. It's insane what they get away with.
I agree with you. I will say the grassroots in Oklahoma are impressive because nobody has control over them, including myself, and they on their own will take people out that are not doing the values. I am not going to have to touch anything, and I don't plan to.
Well, I love Wayne's scorecard. I love that
Wayne has
track
a
of the way people
scorecard,
vote.
out of OK Grassroots, and there are several scorecards across the state. But the people are watching, and we're paying attention, and we need to be paying attention. But we need to stand up against these the green energy every way it's coming in. The whole thing is a scam. Like that
if
is.
It says green on it. Get rid of it.
That's right.
It's the opposite too. I mean, again, all the we're seeing it all fall, like all the electric car nonsense and all of this science we have right in front of us that it's done the exact opposite that it said it was going to do to our environment. And we just need to stop it. We just need to put a stop to it. The fact that we can't put a stop to the spraying of the skies too drives me nuts.
And Oklahoma had a bill, but it didn't get
through. But didn't Tennessee pass a bill that did get through? Was it that one, or was it maybe it wasn't Tennessee? There was a state that passed a bill on that.
Maybe Arkansas.
On which topic?
The chemtrails. I think it was Tennessee.
Tennessee and Florida passed.
Tennessee and Florida.
We had one introduced this session, but I don't know where. I know it didn't get through.
It didn't get through, which is insane. In rural Oklahoma, I mean, there are 2 cities here, right? And even them, it's not like going to Chicago or, it's a pretty rural state, and we have very conservative values. Every county voted for Trump, and so to this be the place, for this to be the place that we're not able to get things like that done is insane.
I know, but I still talk to friends that still think that the chemtrails are a conspiracy theory. I'm like, if it was a conspiracy theory, then why would we be writing legislation to stop it?
Exactly.
I just can't with the TV crap and the nonsense on that.
I know.
Well, I do want to go check out freedombrigades.com. NeAnne, is there a place that people can find your work? I know you've done a lot of research. You've done a lot of, you've worked closely with Sandra Trawick, which is the Donkey Milk Lady. Where can we find your work? Do you have a Substack? I get her firsthand when she finds something, she sends it out.
Yes, right. So we formed a Garfield County Conservation Coalition to combat anything that's going to harm our land in Garfield County. So we have a website, and it is StopSkeletonCreekSolar.org.
StopSkeletonsCreekSolar.com. Okay.
Org. .org.
Yeah, .org. Thank you. Well,
So
guys,
that's our website that we created for this complex specifically.
that's amazing. You guys, this is, like I've said, we are in a war. We have been infiltrated and we have to fight back. Many of us woke up too late. Even waking up 20 years ago, for me, that was too late. This is well underway. So you need to be mindful with your money as well. So first of all, I want to give a shout out to Tom Renz, who always puts our stuff out there. If you go to the website, if you click on his name or his picture anywhere, it will take you to his website. You can keep up with his stuff. He's funny while he brings truth. And then we've got America Happens. But Andrea, will you bring up, we also have Patriots that you can buy from, because when you are mindful with your money, not only do you support the causes that you need to support, but you also are buying products that will help you be a better you, that are not trying to kill you. Every time you buy from the big box stores, you're poisoning yourself. That's just the way it is. We've got to stay out of the big box stores. We've got to stay out of the grocery store as much as possible. And just if you go to the shop tab, which is what Andrea was on, we have special deals just for the brigades. It's a way to support what we're doing, but it also is a way to get yourself some quality products from Patriots instead of giving money to those that are trying to enslave us. So Tom Renz, thank you for joining us. That is the quietest I have ever seen you. Are you feeling
so
okay?
Quiet. Yeah.
I am. I was planning on listening in a little bit today, but I wasn't necessarily planning on coming on camera. I got to tell you, we're gearing up. There's so many things happening. I had a really, really important meeting last night with some, let's just say, some high-placed people in the Maha world. And, a lot of people have really had enough with what's going on. And they want to fight back. They want to start taking steps. They can see what's happening. And so we're working on developing some strategies there. I expect some major announcements in the next very near future. Let's just say that. We're looking into some different options and some different opportunities, and they pulled the trigger on some things. I was very surprised. So I'm today has been a very, very, very busy day, even busy by my standards, with an awful lot of pressure to get certain things done. And so I am in process of doing some very hardcore legal research, putting in some thought into the political impacts and research that we can do, because everything we do, we want to ensure that we're moving ahead both Maha and MEGA, and also recognizing, though, that when we move Maha and MEGA forward, that doesn't mean that we're moving Bobby Kennedy or Donald Trump forward. It means we're moving Maha and MEGA forward. We want to make America healthy again. We want to make America great again. And that is up to we the people. And it's left to the nobodies, to the people like me, to the people like us, to stand and to fight for, because at the very top, and it gets hard to see the forest from the trees. And I wouldn't want Donald Trump or Bobby Kennedy's job one bit. But I will tell you, in that job, it becomes hard to see the forest from the trees. And what we can see from the outside is that there's a lot of foxes guarding the hen house. So we're getting ready to pick a fight, maybe two. And we're going to probably do some stuff, and we're going to probably piss some people off. And if I don't, I'll be pretty disappointed. It means I didn't do much, but I'm pretty sure I will. So we're getting ready, and we're gearing up, and it's serious. It's serious. It's go time, because we're looking right now. We talked about the Green New Deal. We talk about what's happening in our communities. This is huge, but at the same time, we have so many things happening that these are things that are going to hit our kids. We have saRNA coming out. My kids are 15 and 12. That will act as an STD, and it will spread throughout the entire population. Our kids won't be able to find wives or husbands that don't risk infecting them or poisoning their next generation.
They won't be able to have babies regardless.
No, they won't.
It's impacting fertility everywhere.
They won't be able to have babies. They won't be able to live a normal life. AI is going to be taking every job in this country. But yet they're going to pass in this big, beautiful bill a law that says that we can't regulate it.
For 10 years.
For 10 years. I can right now do the job of 6 attorneys because of AI. What I can do with AI as it stands is mind-blowing. When you start unleashing it to take care of all of these jobs, there will be almost no jobs. Now, I can tell you as an attorney, I'm pretty sure the judges and attorneys will make sure the law preserves their jobs. But everybody else, good luck to you.
Mm-hmm.
The thing, so what we're seeing corruption on an epic level. We're seeing the destruction of our way of life. We're seeing the destruction of our kids' way of life. And I'm in straight up war mode right now because, I prayed and asked God if I could have a break. And he said no. So he was very, very unapologetic about it. Nope, you've got work to do. So we're going.
And the people you're working with are big movers and shakers. But what we're talking about with Freedom Brigades, I just keep thinking about everything that you guys were talking about on today's show. It has to start with the community. You have to get involved with who your county commissioners are. I mean, we just had a fight in my community over the library board. People don't think of that. Your school board, your library board, your county commissioner, the head of your ag, all those people control so much in your community. They are the ones that control these Green New Deal things coming in. And like you said, you implied some of them aren't so bright. Well, not just not so bright, they're being bought and sold, and they're in your community. So when you go to vote, when you go to if you're not getting involved at the county commissioner level and you're not going to the meetings, your community will be bought and sold by Monsanto and Bayer and all these evil companies because you're not paying attention. And it starts at the county commissioner level. A lot of people vote and get involved only in our presidential elections. It's like that top to bottom voting. They know the big guys are going to vote for. They care about their governor and the presidential races and things like that, but they don't pay attention to the smaller levels. And I just implore everyone, pay attention to who your county commissioners are.
So can I?
Please.
Sorry, Tom. Charity, one of the things that every Oklahoman needs to know for 2026 is that every county in the state of Oklahoma will be voting for County Commissioner District 1 and County Commissioner District 3.
Right. Yeah.
If we can get those two seats with grassroots, constitutional, biblical people, then we could control every county in the state with constitutional, like-minded elected officials.
And that is across the board. And we need to demand higher than what people realize the county commissioner does. Guys, these are operations managers for the county. Every dollar goes through them. So make sure that this is high quality, that there are people that know what they're talking about, understand money, and can understand understand the global agenda.
They don't know their role and they don't know their authority.
That's right.
Let me throw this in. Okay. So, I just talked to you guys about some stuff, some big fights that we're going to be doing. They're big. They will be big. We're looking at picking some big fights. I want to tell you about the greatest honor that I've got, and that's working with the brigades. Okay. What we're looking at, NeAnne, I'm honored to meet you. Do you know what the difference between you and me is? Nothing. Not a damn thing. I'm going to go punch the devil in the nose, but guess what? I'm a nobody from a little town still 5 years later. The proudest thing I've ever been is a nobody from a little town. And I'm going to tell you the reason for that is that's the brigades. That's what it is. You don't have to be big. The one thing they fear most is that we can educate and make people feel what they have, which is the power of self-determination. They don't want the brigades. They don't want we the people to stand up. That is the one weakness they have. Because if we stand united for freedom, we win. So, I guess it's time to gear back up. We all hoped that we were going to get 4 years of peace with Trump, but we don't have it. So I got the axe out. I'm sharpening it. We're gearing back up. We're changing everything. And producer Andrea can attest to this. And I think even Charity knows this. Within my world, everything is changing. And I mean massively. We're gearing back up for war. And we're getting ready to go because we prayed for, we fought for peace. We fought for Donald Trump to get in there so that we could, maybe just get a breather. And we couldn't. And it's not because Donald Trump's not incredible. It's not because we don't have great people. It's because the depth of the evil is so bad. It's so profound that it requires each of us to take part. And it's going to come down to the Freedom Brigades. It's going to come down to what did you do in your city, in your county, on your library board. It's going to come down to whether or not you have the courage to stand and the courage to fight. And I'm going to tell you all, I challenge any of you to be tireder than I am. And I'm going to pick my axe up.
But that's what I'm saying is if we can't flip like that, you spelled it out right there. The specific county commissioner seats that are going to be up, for election coming up in your next election cycles. I do the same thing in my state all the time. We have to pay attention to what seats we can take over with good people. And if we can't flip our own precincts, our own count, GOP, corruption in our local, GOP boards. And if we can't flip, these smaller tables in the communities, we're not going to have a country. We're going to lose our country. People get obsessed with what Trump's doing.
Yeah.
But Trump cannot be effective if we can't even clean our own county commissioners.
Why do you think that the AI provision in the big, beautiful piece of crap bill says state or local?
Yeah.
They are worried about the local level. They saw what we did, how we fought back during COVID, how we fought back on this whole great reset, how we've done this, how we came together as communities. They fear us on the local level because they know that there are pockets of freedom that will stand against tyranny no matter what and are willing to die on the hill of freedom. And
I've been shocked in my community. We fought a lot of things and flipped some smaller seats. And it was shocking how it's made such a stir. I mean, just our library board, it made such a stir because every time they lose a position and a seat, even when it's something that you didn't realize was so powerful, they flip out because they don't want to lose that control. What Charity's doing with the grassroots, they fear you. What was the name that someone dark?
Which one?
You're
Dark MAGA.
Dark MAGA.
Yeah, you're dark MAGA.
Yeah. They called me that at the RNC.
Yeah, they fear when they lose.
I think
that
that's
control.
racist.
Yeah,
I think it was. Well, we're also the shadow faction. That's
shadow
what
faction.
some of the
I like that better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
that
the
sounds
majority by far, but we're the
I call
shadow
it
faction.
the gnashing of teeth. When we took over our library board and we were exposing them for the grooming of children in Garfield County, Oklahoma, they were grooming our children through the library. And it was gnashing of teeth. And we made national news because we were able to get conservative patriots on the library board.
I am praying that every member of the brigades that sees this, tell your brothers and sisters, it's clear as day. It's time to gear back up. I know we're all tired. I am. Yeah. I'm exhausted, but we don't get the opportunity. Right. I'm going to tell you, we have a very limited time to save the future for our kids.
I agree.
I don't want to do this anymore, guys. I'm exhausted, but we're going to do what we got to do. My kids, your kids, our kids deserve this. We brought them into this world. We got a duty to give them a world to live in. And right now, what we're giving them is a steaming pile of dog crap. We need to do something with this.
With windmills on top of it.
With windmills and solar panels that are going to break in the first hailstorm and drop pollution all over the ground that'll never go away and just create a disaster.
And then the batteries are going to explode and burn the whole world down.
Yeah. I was a fireman, and I'm just going to tell you, you mentioned, I heard you just when I was coming in talking about the firemen and the volunteers. And I was that guy, and I'm going to tell you, those brush fires, those field fires, those suck. Yeah. Those suck bad to deal with. So, listen, at the end, I'm praying. Brigades, my brothers and sisters, if any of you guys care about anything that I have to say on this, and it's not because I'm better, I'm not. I'm one of you guys. I hope you'll stand with us. I hope you'll fight with us because we have some serious fighting to do. And it's much harder to fight when everybody thinks it's good than when everybody knows it's bad. And right now, there's too many people that think we got this handled. Trump's got it handled. I'm watching. Show me one bill that we've passed. Show me one major prosecution we've had. That's not because Donald Trump isn't fighting. It's because there are foxes in the hen house, and we're either going to take them out, and we're either going to take it out locally. We're going to either remake our country or it's going to be gone. We're at our last chance. I've never felt I never thought I would feel more nervous about our future than I did during COVID. I can tell you that I do right now, and that by the end of today, I will have finished a proposal and some plans on the next stages of our fight. My commitment is to continue doing what we got to do for our country, for our kids, for our future, no matter what the cost. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to get more people inspired to do the same, because it's no longer adequate for us to stand by, for us to sit down and to just say, well, Donald Trump's got it. No, this is our duty. It's our children we're fighting for. It's not Donald Trump's children I'm fighting for. It's mine. It's my friends. It's Charity's. It's Andrea's. It's ours. That's what we're fighting for. And if you don't understand that, if you're not willing, to do what's necessary to do that, then I got to be honest with you. I'm going to feel bad for what you're going to see in the rearview mirror in a few years.
Well, I will say if you go to so if you're watching this show, if you've watched this long, you know there's a problem and you want to fight. And I would say go to the last day of your life and look back. What do you wish you would have done? Do that. You still have the opportunity to do that. Joining the Freedom Brigades is 4 hours a month of your time. That's 2 hours to go to your meeting, then 2 hours to report it back. Sign up at freedombrigades.com. Be a part of the solution. We have to take back the republic if we're going to take back our communities and save the world.
Amen.
So you guys, we'll see you next week. Thank you.
God bless.
Bye.